Dr. Grant from Brunswick Veterinary Hospital, and today I hope to help you understand the ins and outs of lab work on our canine patients. Today, my assistant Adri is going to help me by asking me some commonly asked questions by our clients. Adri?
Dr. Grant, why might my dog need lab work?
So there's many reasons why our canine patients or pets might need some lab work done. Depending on what's happening with the patient, if they're otherwise healthy, we might recommend lab work to get a general baseline of their overall health by evaluating overall organ function and immune system status or infectious status. Other reasons why we might want to do some lab work is if we're now seeing some signs of illness that we want to investigate a little bit further to determine where the problem is and what more do we need to do to treat and take care of our patients.
Why are laboratory tests so important for my dog's health?
Lab tests are so important for your dog's health because they give us a lot more information than we can get just by putting our hands on our patients. Lab work can look at overall organ function, so electrolytes, kidney function, liver function, as well as what your white blood cells are doing. Is there any evidence of infection or inflammation, or even if there's any evidence of any underlying cancer? Lab tests really allow us to start looking into any issues that might be happening with our patients to direct further diagnostics and further care.
What different types of lab work are there and how are these tests done?
So there's many different types of lab tests that can be done in our canine patients. Just to name a couple that we frequently do in our canine patients, urinalysis or urine test allows us to evaluate for any evidence of urinary tract infection or difficulties concentrating the urine or inappropriate substances in the urine that might have deeper implications for their overall health. We also might routinely do a fecal test to evaluate for any kinds of intestinal parasites that might predispose them to GI upset, such as vomiting and diarrhea. We might also do a complete blood count on these patients, where we actually look at the different white blood cell counts and the red blood cell counts to evaluate for signs of inflammation, infection, anemia, things like that. We'll also frequently do what's called a chemistry panel to look at overall organ function, electrolytes, and the overall health of their different body systems. And lastly, depending on what's happening with the individual patient, we might consider what's called cytology, or taking a sample either from a mouse or even an infected ear and looking at that underneath the microscope to determine what's causing the problem.
Why are routine blood tests important for my dog?
So routine blood tests are very important for your patients for numerous different reasons. For healthy animals, it helps us track and detect any kinds of illnesses early on before they become more progressive so that we can intervene and start treating them early. For patients that maybe have an ongoing illness or something that has been tracked for a while, it allows us to trend their values to see, is this problem getting worse? Do we need to make changes in our treatment plan? And where do we go from here?
What do the chemistries mean on my dog's blood work?
So the different chemistry values on your dog's blood work can give us a little bit of insight into liver health, kidney health, pancreatic health, as well as our electrolyte values and our blood sugar, just an overall picture of how our patient is doing.
How does a baseline lab test benefit the health of my dog?
So a baseline blood test helps your animals by giving us a general baseline to compare current values to. A good example is that if we have a patient that had come in for routine blood work and we found maybe an abnormal value that was normal for that patient, and then later on we see them come back for an illness, we now have something to compare the lab work when they're ill compared to the lab work when they were healthy to determine whether these values are abnormal for this patient or whether these values are what we expect to find in this particular patient.
Why is early detection and diagnosis of dog illnesses using lab work so important?
So early detection is so important because our patients can't talk to us. Our pets can't tell us when they're experiencing any signs of discomfort, and sometimes signs of illnesses may be very subtle and we may not notice for a time. It's very important to do routine lab work because that allows us to start seeing things before our patients start showing obvious signs of illness or discomfort.
Thank you for discussing dog lab work.
Absolutely. Let me know if you have any questions.